Welcome to the 2014-15 Counselor Webinar Series brought to you by the College Board. Today's webinar entitled Avoiding Summer Melt. We will have a large number of participants in the webinar today, so everyone's phone has been muted on entry. We also ask that you leave your phone on mute so your colleagues can hear the presentation clearly. To get your call-in number for the audio line, please use the menu bar above. Go to the drop-down box and select audio. Participants who call in on the landline phones tend to have the best audio experience. We do look forward to answering your questions online, and we'll use the chat feature to answer your questions. This feature is located on the menu bar at the top of your screen. Questions may be submitted at any time during the presentation using the chat feature. However, we will not be taking questions until the end of the webinar presentation. To submit a question, click the chat icon. Type your question into the chat dialog box, select all panelists from the drop-down, and click Send or Enter. Now I'd like to introduce our webinar presenters. But before I do that, I'm Jennifer Dunn, Director at the College Board Membership Mobilization and Engagement Unit, and I'll be your moderator today. I have the honor of introducing our presenters. We first will have Sarah Jensen, who is Deputy Director at College Access and Success Commit Partnership. Then we'll hear from Dr. Sylvia Lopez, who's the Director of Counseling Service in Dallas ISD. Then you'll get an opportunity to hear from a lead school counselor at James Madison High School in Dallas ISD, Lenore Brown. I'm excited to have this group of panelists on today's webinar because they will be able to highlight a model of best practices that can be used in other states and districts across the country to avoiding summer melt. On our agenda today, we will look at what is summer melt. We'll get an opportunity to look at and review some research that was done by Benjamin Castleman, Lindsay Page, and Ashley Snowden called the Summer Melt Handbook, a guide to investigating and responding to summer melt. Then you'll get an opportunity to learn about how Dallas County's Community Collaborative supports students during the spring and summer by partnering with several districts, but today we'll look at a specific model in Dallas ISD. You'll be able to hear a variety of strategies, not only from the school level, but what they're doing at the district level, and then we'll hone on some skills and strategies and support services that help students on the school level, and then you'll get an opportunity at the end of the presentation to ask any questions, have any of your questions answered. Now, what is summer melt? I know when I was a school counselor in a school, and that was quite a few years ago, I had no idea the term of summer melt. Summer melt is the transition from high school graduation to college enrollment. The handbook or the research defines it as a college attending students who fail to enroll at all in the fall after their high school graduation. Why do so many students usually melt or do not make it to the college door? And we're going to not necessarily talk about the barriers of students that prevent them from enrolling in college, but hopefully we're going to look at some of the things to prevent that. But I think it's good to highlight to find out once a student is getting receive their acceptance letter and they make their final decisions, there's some tasks that students must complete in order to access college. And some of those tasks there's no one there, especially a school counselor who may be a 10-month or 11th-month employee to help students with that task. So building partnerships and collaborative are really important to helping students kind of jump over those hurdles of financing college, making sense of the bill or paying for health insurance or course textbooks, or even taking placement tests or attending orientation or completing housing forms. Also, we're going to be able to talk about what are some ways in which helping students to transition, not only with the academic supports and some of the financial supports, but also some of the social emotional supports of leaving familiar surroundings or adjusting to changing peers. And today we're really going to get into some of the research that was talked about in the summer handbook. They really talk about and they really place an importance on connecting students and their families to resources to help them overcome barriers that we just talked about earlier. But we're going to talk about specifically a model that has taken place in Dallas ISD. Also, really, is summer melt something that is really prevalent across the country? Many counselors do not know necessarily the term of summer melt because they may not be working during that 12-month period or that summer vacation time. But as we are starting to look at this research, we are seeing more prevalent school districts looking at college attending students, and that they are not going anywhere in the fall following their high school graduation, even though they finished their financial aid, received their award information, and also have received their acceptance letters. There were 3 districts that were highlighted in the research: Boston Public Schools, Fort Worth Independent School District, which is in Texas, and Fulton County School District, where there was a survey where they estimated the rate of students that were not going or failing to enroll in college to about 10 to 40%. And as you can see on the screen, there's several different cities or districts that you can see that they have a percentage of students that are failing to enroll, and as they increase from 40% to 28% to 32%. However, the rates they found were higher among students that were low income and moderate income families. In addition to those rates are considerably higher for those who are attending community college other than attending or enrolling to 4-year schools. Now I'd like to introduce to you Sarah Jensen, who is with the College Access and Success Commit Partnership. Sarah's really going to talk to us today about what they were doing to support students and also partnering with a school system to support students to enroll and make that transition smooth. I want to read a little bit about Sarah's background and also a little bit about her organization. Sarah has a widespread experience as an educating advocate, and she's dedicated to education systems throughout college to be an option for all students. Prior to joining Commit, Sarah served as an admission representative for Texas Lutheran University. Sarah's previously held positions include research analysis for the National Math and Science Initiative and a graduate intern for the Meadows Foundation. Sarah is a proud graduate of LBJ School of Public Affairs at the University of Texas at Austin Trinity University. Now I'd like to introduce Sarah Jensen. Sarah?
Thanks so much, Jennifer. We're really excited to be joining you all today. Thanks so much for signing on to the webinar. I'm going to spend just a little bit of time giving you an overview of what our role is in helping with prevent summer melt, how we've brought together the community around addressing this issue that we've found in our community. And then I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues at Dallas ISD so that they can share more specific strategies that they've been doing in addition to the texting work that we've done together. So I wanted to first share a little bit about the Commit Partnership, because we're a little bit of a bizarre organization. We don't do direct service with students. We support a partnership of over 160 cross-sector Dallas County organizations that first came together in 2012 to use data, community expertise, and the power of collaborative action to solve the biggest education challenges preventing our region's students from succeeding in college, career, and life. Like I mentioned, we do no direct service with students. We are a neutral entity that exists to support and multiply the efforts of school districts, higher ed, and other nonprofits serving students. Our ultimate goal is to see more students successfully graduate from college and enter the workforce, but we know that college readiness starts before kindergarten. So we have a team that works on pre-K access. We have a team working on early grades, literacy, and math. And then I'm on the college access and success side of Commit and get to partner with the universities and the school districts to help look at things such as post-secondary enrollment, persistence, and success. A little bit about Dallas County. Dallas County serves 530,000 students in grades K through 12. Actually, 1 out of every 100 students in the U.S. is educated here in Dallas County, and about 3/4 of our public school students are living in poverty. And I want to mention, too, that Commit-like entities exist in many communities across the nation. So as you're hearing our example here, know that there's probably a nonprofit like us in your community that you can reach out to and replicate what we've been able to do here in Dallas County. So a little bit about how we're structured. So we've got a leadership council that's made up of higher ed and workforce representatives, foundations, superintendents from the school districts. Then we have another layer of college access directors, which is the group that Dr. Lopez sits on, along with her same positions from the other 10 districts in the area. So this is a role-like group that meets every other month to look at data around post-secondary enrollment, persistence, and success, and then plan projects collaboratively that will help us move the county forward towards our ultimate goals of increased post-secondary completion. Within that, we've got some specific working groups, such as the Summer Melt Texting Project, which we'll go into more depth. And then we also have our TexCAN North Texas, our Texas College Access Network for North Texas, which is a place for our counselors and advisors and nonprofits to connect both in person and through an online listserv. They also give us great feedback on how everything's going with the programs that our directors group is implementing. So why do we care about Summer Melt? Well, in our region, and probably in many regions that you're in as well, we have a real challenge in the number of students that are both entering and persisting and completing post-secondary education. So this data comes from the National Student Clearinghouse reports for 9 of our 15 reporting districts, but this is more of an illustrative example of why we're doing what we're doing. So essentially, 60% of our class of 2012 enrolled in fall, right after high school, enrolled in college. 48% persisted to their second year, and if things go as projected from 2008, only about 30% will complete within 6 years. So we wanted to figure out what was going on in between that graduation and enrolling that we could help students with, as Jennifer was mentioning earlier. So then the directors group dug in a little bit deeper to try to figure out what might be going on. So we looked at our Texas in-state enrollment rates. So for all of our school districts, all 15 school districts, in 2013, we had about 27,800 seniors that graduated. Of those, 64% completed at least one Apply Texas application. Apply Texas is our Texas Common Application. And only 49% enrolled in a Texas institution. So we know that there are other explaining factors. Maybe a student completed an Apply Texas application and enrolled out of state, or maybe a student completed an institution's application and not Apply Texas and enrolled. So our data is not perfect, but what this told us was that there was a big gap in between students that were highly intending to apply to college and those that actually enrolled in state. And the majority of our students are enrolling in state, so this was very impactful data for our directors group to look at. Each director of college and career readiness or director of counseling services from the school district also saw similar data specific to their school district. So after reviewing all of this, we were very fired up and wanted to do something specifically around summer melt. So, as Jennifer mentioned before, summer melt refers to that time between a senior graduating from high school and them being in a seat in class on the 12th class day of college. And as you can see, all of my little hurdles in there that the students run into on their own may not seem like a big deal, but when you don't have a counselor down the hallway from you to turn to, maybe, for example, you haven't gotten your financial aid award letter, but you don't know that you need to log on to a portal to be able to see that, or you don't realize that you've been selected for verification, and that's why you don't have an award letter yet. And without somebody down the hallway for you to go turn to for help with small things like that, if you're the first one in your family going to college, which the majority of our students are first-generation college-going students, then that could completely derail you from enrolling in college. So the idea was, how do we set up small nudges so that students are successfully completing these hurdles during the summer months? So this is who came to the table, and so this is the benefit of having Commit involved, is because we have all of these partnerships with the school districts and higher ed partners. It doesn't have to be one school district trying to solve this on their own. So we brought together Dallas, Grand Prairie, DeSoto, and Lancaster, so 4 of our 15 school districts in the area. We also invited to the table the colleges where their students most commonly enrolled in the area. So the Dallas County Community College District, which represents 7 colleges, A&M Commerce, UNT Dallas, TWU, and UT Arlington. And we also have sponsorship from AT&T and close partnerships with Lumina, Signalvine, SMU, Uplift, and US Fire. So by bringing all of these partners together, we began convening in September to write out the text messages and to talk about what those hurdles are. We successfully launched the program in February. And on the next slide, we've got a little bit about what we did right before we launched the texting platform itself. So it was really important to us that we launch in February so that we could send out text reminders about FAFSA. And it wasn't just about the summer hurdles, but also some of those spring hurdles that students have to face as well. So we started with a FAFSA general training in January because, as you would expect, most of the student questions were around financial aid. So we wanted to give every opportunity to our counselors, advisors, and nonprofits in the area to have strong training on FAFSA. We did another training from US Fire in February, just before the texting program started. US Fire was part of that original case study that Jennifer was mentioning before. So they had great insight into some best practices on how to advise over the texting platform. So what does this actually look like? The way that we have it set up this year, and of course this is pilot year 1 for the area, and we will make tweaks and changes for next year. But the way we have it set up this year is that students opt in. The seniors are choosing to receive text messages. They have an online form that they go and fill out. The text messages are sent no more than 2 times a week, and then the students have the ability to ask questions back. So the students are receiving the messages on their phone, but the counselor and higher ed partner is seeing that on an online portal, which looks like this. So in the beginning, the students are connected with their high school counselor or college advisor from one of the area nonprofits that works within our school districts. They are able to answer questions, reaffirm accomplishments, and really at the end of the day, the texting is just a nice way to build a relationship. It all comes down to that relationship that the students have with their counselors, but you and I both know that students are not checking their email, but they have their phone. So the texting is a much easier way for counselors to remind students not only about those hurdles, but also about smaller things that may come up within the school. So the thing that we're really excited about is because we've had higher ed partners involved from the very beginning, they also have access to the online portal. So the way it works is that students receive text messages beginning in February. They have a chance to declare where they're going to college. And once they've declared where they're going to college, and if it's a four-year university, the higher ed partner has confirmed that that student has applied and been accepted, we switch that student over from their counselor's account to the higher ed person's account. And there's somebody from the admissions office, financial aid office, and in most cases an advising office to be there to answer the students' questions, which has been phenomenal for students to have such direct access to their admissions and financial aid counselors. So the colleges have been really excited to be on board and to be participating. I think the counselors have also found a lot of value in being able to have the automatic text messages go out and have all of those set reminders on the hurdles, but also be able to jump in and reply with their own custom responses and questions and nudges along the way. So we're really excited to see this develop. As I said, this is year one. So excited to report back on how everything goes and what changes and tweaks we may make for next year and how we better understand how students actually connect with a higher ed partner. Coming from a higher ed background, I'm really excited to have the higher ed partners on board because we know that connecting to a higher ed mentor on that campus early on is really key to persistence rates. So we're very excited about the whole program, and with that, Jennifer, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm excited to be able to now introduce Dr. Sylvia Lopez, who is the Director of Counseling Services in Dallas ISD, and the work that she is doing in partnership with Commit, partnership with Sarah, and that she'll be able to highlight on the district level and what she's doing with school counselors. But before I do that, turn it over to Sylvia, I'd like to read a little bit about Sylvia's background. She has 36 years of educational experience, during which she has served as a school counselor and as a principal at an elementary school and a middle school and high school. She currently holds the position as Director of School Counseling Services. She facilitates the implementation of the school counseling program, coordinates district-wide training, promotes accountability, and actively supports and sponsors many of the college readiness under the Own the Turf initiatives throughout the district for over 380 elementary, middle, and high school counselors. Sylvia has been actively serving on the Texas School Counselor Association Executive Board. She currently serves as the President-elect, and she also serves as a CREST committee as a reviewer to find outstanding school counseling programs across Texas. I could read more and more, but I really want Sylvia to go ahead and kind of highlight what she's already doing and talk about her district in preventing and avoiding summer melt. Sylvia?
Thank you, Jennifer. Well, I'm going to our slide, and just for everyone to know that our counseling mission is to implement a systematic pre-K-12 program as a data-driven school counseling program. We're all about data, and we're all about accountability. And our huge focus for our school counselors, which involves a lot of my training, is on leadership, accountability, and student achievement. So our stats right now with Dallas ISD is that we are the 14th largest urban school district in the nation. We're the second largest in the state of Texas. We have more than 20,000 employees and 150,000 student population, 70% Hispanic, 23% African American, and 7% other. We also have 224 schools, and 73 are at the secondary level. And also with that, we have a little over 385 pre-K-12 school counselors that I am directly responsible to help train and talk about the vision and enlightenment of our district. All school counselors, we feel it's very important to introduce the idea of college and career as early as pre-K. The school counselors they have to start planting the seed to help students look beyond the high school level. So our district goal, one of our main goals, is by fall 2020, 80% of our students will graduate on time, ready to enter college, the military, or a career-ready job. This is huge for the work that our counselors do. So how do you tackle this huge elephant in the room? How do we get that done? When we all know, like districts across the nation, we have large caseloads for school counselors, where right now our counselors are 1 to 500. We have a high social and emotional needs of students. We have poor parental involvement. Student attendance is not as great as we would like for it to be. Graduation rate is improving, but slowly. We also need to continue to work on getting scholarships for our students, college acceptance into college, and of course to complete FAFSA. So what does it take? Well, one of the things that we really do a lot of training for our counselors district-wide is on leadership. It takes an entire group to help reach our goals, the goals of the district. And thanks to Commit and many of our community partners, like University Crossroads, they help us brainstorm this huge task of how are we going to do this. University Crossroads meets at least once a month with all colleges and universities in the area. And one of the main posing questions always is, what can we do to continue to help the work of our school counselors? We discuss special programs such as scholarships. And, of course, they come together to discuss the #1 question: what needs to happen in order to push the Summer Melt initiative? No school or school counselor or district director can work in isolation. It literally takes the meeting of professional minds all coming together to get this work done. Also, in alignment, it is important in order to focus a college career readiness initiative that counselors have to know how their school counseling program fits into the bigger picture. We all have to be working in the same direction, not working in all different directions, but all going in the same directions. And as a district director, I have to help train the counselors to see where and how they can make this happen with their uniqueness of their school, and how to make their goals fit into their school counseling program, which are aligned with our district goals. When we talk about shared data element, this could be many, many things. It depends on where their individual schools are headed. But a school counselor has to know the goals that the district's trying to accomplish and to be able to communicate their needs and how they're going to get it done on their campus. And they have to reach out to partners from within their community, just like we actually Commit found us. It was both we found each other and other partners to get this college career readiness goal done. And we always tell our counselors it is very, very important to have an action plan. When you meet with your own community, when you meet with your own guidance advisory council, it is helpful and useful to know the goals. What are your goals of your campuses? How are you going to be accomplishing those goals? And to write down the goals and the work to get this job accomplished. We have to stay in constant communication with our partners and, of course, Commit and all our other partners that we continuously on a district level stay in contact with. So finally, the accountability. How did we do is the main question. Did we hit our target? Are we making a difference? And hopefully at the end of the summer, the text messaging program will help close the FAFSA completion gap, as well as getting students matriculated in a college or university. With the data that we collect from all our counselors, we complete a college career readiness report card, which is given to each school counselor with the goal, the district goal, and how well their campus did, and did they make and meet the goal. The report card lists many things like the FAFSA completion goal. Did we make it or did we not? And the Applied Texas goal is also there, SAT, ACT goals, and of course scholarship. One of the things that we have learned from another research that was done in our district, that you do need to have financial aid, scholarship, entrance exam for college or university. And also, all of those have to come together in order to help the students. But what helps is putting this piece of the text messaging together to help and avoid the summer melt. In this slide, you'll see some of our goals that have already been reached and are continuous increasing. We have the Apply Texas, which our goal for the district was 90%. Currently, as of May 2015, that was early this month, we were at 93.9. If you look at the SAT, ACT, 60% was our goal, and currently with the combined tests of both, we're at 93%. Financial aid, our goal is 55%, and as you can tell, we're at 33.8%. 33.8 is higher than where we were this time last year, so we're on the right track, but we still have a long ways to go to hit that 55% mark. And also scholarships, our mark is at 45%, and at the end of this year, hopefully we'll see some gains there as well in our scholarship. The text messaging program took the counselors and the college access program vendors to assist in helping, as Sarah mentioned earlier, in the opt-in program. This is one area that we felt that through text messaging can help improve and avoid the summer melt. Each campus has designated a contact person, which may be the school counselor, it may be the CAP vendor, which again helps the students to opt into the text messaging program. And when the text messages are sent once or twice a week, the point of contact is ready to respond to the students by texting them back, again, their questions or their concerns. It has been a major task to work out all the details to go from district level goals to a partnership with Commit in helping us implement all of these goals. And then to go the next level, which is at the school level. How can we get all of these counselors on the same working path and making it work for everybody? But at the end of the summer, we're trying to avoid the summer melt, and we hope our data will show more students enrolled in the first year of college and the closing of the FAFSA completion. And again, as Sarah mentioned earlier, it is so important if those kids have a connection or relationship to help them get through the next hurdle of their little journey. That's what we're all about, to avoid the summer melt. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. You're right. Now the next portion of the webinar is under actually Sylvia's leadership, is how does it play out in the school? Now I'd like to introduce Lenore Brown. She is completing her second year at James Madison High School. She has 27 years of educational experience with the district. She began her career with the district as a teacher, assistant, office manager, reading teacher, a middle school counselor, and has spent the last 13 years as a high school counselor. She has a principal certification and is completing her last coursework for her LPC, her Licensed Professional Counseling Certification, this summer. Lenora is known for her ability to provide for each learner's optimal academic, emotional, physical, and civic growth, as well as preparing them for their post-secondary education pathway. What makes her stand out above others is the fact that when staff, students, parents, and faculty see her, they see the vision of the school and its students. They see that she believes the school will be successful and that she believes in the school and its students, faculty, and staff. Now I'd like to introduce Lenore Brown, who will talk specifically about what she is doing to communicate what's going on at Commit, the Commit Community Collaborative, and what's going on at the district to support students in preventing summer melt. Lenora?
Thanks, Jennifer, for the opportunity to participate in this web. There are 16 strategies that I will be highlighting. The first one is setting the expectation for success. Let me begin by saying that 93% of my students are first-generation students. 72.2% are African Americans, 26.5% are Hispanic students, and 1.3% are other. I have a caseload of 468 students. So my first goal each year is to set the expectations for a successful senior year and to create a college and career environment, as well as give my students all the tools they need to complete all the higher ed activities that are required of them. One thing that I try to do for my campus is to provide leadership, accountability, and meet the college readiness standards that are set for my school. As the college and career cheerleader for my campus, it's extremely important that I set expectations prior to the fall of the senior year. Therefore, I meet with each senior the spring of their junior year for senior interviews, to complete a senior information sheet, and to give them a handout to get them ready for their summer work as well as their senior year. The second thing that I do is schedule all seniors into a technology elective class. And this class is used for college and career activities as well as all guidance lessons, for FAFSA workshops, as well as presenting guest speakers to those students, as well as individual conferences, tracking, and etc. It is in this class that they complete all of the activities for their senior college calendar that you will see later on. The instructor for this class is a member of my Guidance Advisory Committee, and she is also the senior sponsor. So she and I work closely together to ensure that all the activities are completed. I also provide her with the college readiness activities, guidelines, and timelines. The third thing is our weekly meetings. I meet with my Guidance Advisory Committee. We meet once a week, and we plan our work. We use our data to monitor students' progress, and we use the data to also align the counseling goals with my campus goals. This committee is also my scholarship committee. The members of this committee are the special education liaison, the English 4 teacher, the class president. I have a grandmother on my committee. I have a K teacher, a parent, our community liaison, an instructional coach, as well as an alumni member, in addition to my college access partner. The 12th grade elective teacher, who is the senior sponsors on this committee, as well as my urban specialist. I created a higher ed education plan that you will see later on that highlights our goals for the year. The websites that I monitor are the texting portal, the FAFSA completion portal, the Common Application portal, the SAT portal, as well as the Apply Texas website. I use all of the websites to plan classroom activities and lessons, as well as to provide individual assistance to students who may need it. The texting portal that Sarah discussed is used to send important messages, respond to questions and concerns, and just to remind students of important deadlines. I use the Federal Student Aid website to monitor students' FAFSA completion rate and to compare my rate with the other schools. This is the website that will list all the schools in my district, so I'm competitive and I always like to see where I stand in relation to other schools. I use the Common Application website to monitor students' college application process and to ensure that they are submitting all the documents that may be needed for colleges out of state. I also upload their transcripts and any needed documentation to the Common Application site. The next one is the College Board SAT Counselor Reporting site. I use this site to see which one of my seniors are registering for the SAT test, to see who are not reporting for testing. And this is important because my students use waivers. So if they fail to report to a testing site, then they are not eligible for a second waiver. So I monitor that to make sure that they are being accountable in showing up. And I also export each test registration information into an Excel spreadsheet and share this information with my guidance advisory committee as well as my principal for accountability. I spend most of my monitoring on the next slide, slide 25. This is an important website for a counselor in Texas because this website is useful. Not only does it provide a roster for the students who have completed their application, but it also will give me a roster of every student who has completed their FAFSA application and who has started and not completed. It also shows what page the students are on if they have not completed the application. And also the FAFSA completion site will give me a roster that tells me what day the student started the application, will also identify students that have been selected for verification, and it just gives me the total number of every student who has submitted their FAFSA. Very good tool. And I usually use Excel and export the information and share this information with the guidance advisory committee as well as my principal. The next slide lists five different strategies. The weekly classroom guidance lessons, in addition to the required ones, I use the senior calendar that I have created, as well as the Hats Off Senior Packet. I use career cruising, publications, and brochures that I order for classroom guidance. These are all conducted in the 12th grade technology class with the assistance of my college access partner. The next strategy is deliberate organization. I organize the Counseling Center so that students would have quick access to all 42 documents that are included in the Hats Off packet. And I listed the tray numbers where they could find other important logs and resources in the calendar checklist that you will see in a few minutes. One thing that I added this year that I did not do my first year was to ensure that the 12th grade elective teacher had all the resources that the students needed. So this year, I put a 2-drawer file cabinet in her classroom and filled that file cabinet with all the documents and important resources alphabetically so that the students could have them while they were in her classroom. The documents were also color-coded so that students could be able to identify them. The next strategy is schedule appointments with parents. In addition to my parent needs assessment, I created a survey that asks parents to identify time slots during the day that would be convenient for them where I could assist them with financial aid completion, answer questions, provide workshops. Parents were able to complete the parent section of the FAFSA by RSVPing with me and on my college access partner. We were able to complete a lot of FAFSA just by allowing parents to come up during the day. The next one is parent hands-on FAFSA workshops. The result of the survey were used to schedule FAFSA workshops, verification workshops, and other topics. The majority of the times that parents selected were between 8 and 9, 11 and 12, and then 2 to 3, as well as 4:30 to 5:30. The financial aid publications that I ordered are also noted on slide 31, but I downloaded and ordered publications for each senior as well as their parent. And some of the publications are a college planning guide and financial aid for students, for Texas students, as well as how to get money for college, preparing for college, paying for college, destination university, as well as funding your education beyond high school. And you can see on that same slide, I'm sorry, Jennifer, that you can see my higher ed plan. And we use this as we plan with our guidance advisory committee. We set our goals, we plan our work, and we use this every time we meet to set activities and dates in place. Okay. Our next slide, you see number 10, Senior Month-to-Month Calendar Checklist. I created a month-to-month calendar checklist. It is an 8-page document that lists activities from August 2014 to January 2015. The first 4 pages are on this slide. It lists every task that seniors need to complete the first semester to meet application deadlines, to be accepted into college, and to receive financial aid. It lists the description of the task, resources to use. I included special notes to the students and the location of the documents in the counseling office. And this calendar is given out in August during the first senior parent meeting. It is given to all seniors, all parents, as well as all senior sponsors. The senior packet is a packet that I created for each senior, and as well as their senior parent, and they receive this packet, and it consists of 42 pages. This packet contains documents, logs, information to assist the students in completing college applications, the FAFSA scholarship applications, and it just answers questions on how to request recommendation letters, types of financial aid, and examples of what certain documents are. This particular packet will be shown on a few slides later. Number 12 is the counselor student tracking logs. Student tracking logs included in the packet are a fee waiver log so that students can track their ACT, SAT waiver information, as well as their college application fee waiver information, a personal username password log, a scholarship log, and a community service log. My counselor logs included the Apply Texas College Application Status log and Apply Texas FAFSA Status log. This log lists students that have been selected for verification, and it also identifies the application if the application is completed or if it is saved. The FAFSA tracking log that I created to use when I'm working with students in the 12th grade classroom is on the next slide. Individual senior conferences and checkpoints. I use my logs and data from all the websites to conference with students, to check students' progress, and to schedule appointments with parents. Because of my seniors are all scheduled into the required senior elective, this instructor allows me to come into the classroom and meet one-on-one with students and to check their status. Because they are in a technology class, I insist that they pull up their FAFSA accounts and their Apply Texas accounts to review their SAR and college applications to ensure that they are completed, as well as to ensure that they are moving on the calendar checklist. The FAFSA confirmation email. Each student must email me a copy of their FAFSA confirmation email. This is the first step in their senior clearance process. Once I receive their FAFSA confirmation email, I give them a handout that's called What Happens After I Submit My FAFSA, and I give them a draft copy of the FAFSA scholarship award information that is on slide 30. And then I also, once I receive their email confirmation number, I put that information into their senior FAFSA tracking log that you see at the bottom of the screen. Once they are either noted as being a FAFSA student or a TAFSA student, I will communicate and start stalking them to make sure that they have completed, corrected, and read their SAR along with completed verification process. 15 is stalking and tracking. I usually walk around with a clipboard where I actually carry all of the documents on this clipboard. And this clipboard has the senior calendar checklist. It has my FAFSA tracking log, as well as some other information about students. And I stalk all seniors using the senior FAFSA tracking log that is on this slide. Not only do I visit the 12th grade elective class, but I visit the English 4 classes, reminding them of deadlines, completion status, and I distribute scholarship information. I also solicit the help of the coaches to remind athletes about their FAFSA status as well as their NCAA status. And I also give this information to my principals so that they can assist me in the stalking. Number 16 is more stalking and tracking, more stalking and tracking. I provide FAFSA data to the administrators in my building to get their assistance in stalking students. And I ask them, whenever you encounter a senior, ask them if they have completed their FAFSA, if they are receiving scholarships. And this just makes them more accountable because they don't tell the principals any stories like they do me. But I give the principals the FAFSA completion rate form. I make sure that they understand that the students need to complete this task, and the names of the students as well as where the students are given to the principals to encourage them to talk about the FAFSA whenever they encounter the students. Senior sponsors are also a part of the stalking process. And those are the 16 strategies that I employ. Back to you, Jennifer.
Thank you. I also want to reiterate that Lenora, we will be sending out a lot of the example documents that you see on the screen in her senior packet. They're PDF documents that you will get during the follow-up thank you letter. Also within the senior packet, some of you have asked also some about those websites, about the FAFSA completion website, as well as some of the pub websites. And so we've put those helpful websites here on the slide. You will get a copy of the presentation as well, so in the thank you follow-up. And these are just some additional things that you will get in your thank you follow-up letter that we'll send out that Lenora has developed and her school counseling department has developed to support the work that you're doing. I'm going to skip over that, over the articles that you can get on Big Future, because I really want to hit the Q&A. Many of you had several questions that came in. I know, Sarah, you have been answering some of them, but some I'm still going to go ahead and read because I think they're really important just in case some people didn't see, Sarah, your responses to some of the answers. Could you tell us again the portal that you're using for the text messaging? And if there is some type of cost to that or a discount for NCAN members or what have you. And I don't know if Sarah or Silva, you can answer that.
Sure, this is Sarah. So the portal that we decided to go with was Signalvine because at the time when we were developing all of this out early last year, early in September, it was the only portal that allowed for two-way communication. Since then, other texting platforms have introduced two-way communication like Remind 101 and their chat feature. We've been really pleased with Signalvine and have been able to preload all of those text messages in there, and the interface is pretty user-friendly for counselors to log in and do case management. As there is a cost associated with Signalvine, it's about $1 a student per month. Varies depending on the number of students that you have and the number of months that you want to have access to the texting platform. And there is an NCAN discount if you're an NCAN member, National College Access Network member. I believe that they waive the setup fee, and there may be other discounts available as well, depending on the number of students that you have and how long you're planning to use the texting platform.
So there was another question about how are you getting these students' cell phone numbers? And I think, Lenora, you can answer that. And I think, Sarah, you had also answer that as well, but how are you actually getting the cell phone numbers to even text the students?
When students opt in, they provide all the information. I went into the 12th grade elective classroom and I signed up all of my students, and what they had to do is they had to put their telephone numbers, and they provide all the information because they type it into the website.
And we created an online form to collect that information. We have data sharing agreements set up with the school district to be able to have that sort of agreement in place to collect the information. This is something, though, that we're looking at revising for next year. So like I mentioned, this is pilot year, year 1. We launched it in January, February, provided the links to the counselors to then, as Lenora was saying, go into the classrooms and promote online to have the students opt in. But it did add an extra layer of work for the counselors to have to go and get the students to complete a task. So for next year, we're looking at making it an opt-out process. It already is an opt-out process in the sense that once students are on the system, they can always text back and say, stop, or get me out of this, and we can turn off the text messages to them. But what we're thinking about for next year is the beginning of the school year when students are already having to turn in forms and we're collecting information from them, that it would just be part of the back-to-school paperwork that they'll do to collect the cell phone number. I should mention, too, that oftentimes student cell phone numbers change, and we've had a pretty good track record with students telling us through the texting platform what their new cell phone number is so that we can update our system so that they're still continuing to receive the text messages. So that's our big revision for next year, is going to an opt-out process to make it easier on the counselors and to have more students involved on the texting platform.
Now, there was a question about data sharing. That's a huge deal, even here at the College Board, about data sharing. And since you are a community collaborative and between a school district, is there some type of data sharing agreement that you have, or that you could actually, they want to provide a copy of it, or or an example, or where they could get an example of your data sharing agreement, if there is one?
Yeah, we have data sharing agreements with all of our partner school districts, and then we have project-specific agreements that would relate to things like the texting platform or the texting program. You'll remember we're doing this texting program with 4 school districts, so each school district has their own data sharing agreement with us, and what that looks slightly different for each school, but it was really important that that be part of the process so that we understand what's working and what's not working and how to make things, tweak it to make it better. And I realized, too, I didn't mention really quickly, Commit's piece in all of this is we fundraise to pay for the technology platform and act as the neutral meeting facilitator. So that's our role in all of this, is to help bring everybody together, and then the school districts are where the magic happens, and they're the ones that are working with the students, and they've committed to having a summer stipend for the counselors staying on through the summer on the portal to continue to talk to students. The higher ed are donating staff time. So it's all about coming together and setting this common goal to have increased post-secondary enrollment.
Okay, so we have about a minute left. I'm going to try to take 2 questions. So if some of you want to go ahead and stay on the line, we'll go ahead and continue, because I think this is an important question. If a student does not have a cell phone or unlimited texting, what do you do as an alternative?
I have several students that gave their parents a cell phone number.
Okay.
The other option that we've heard, it's not just about the texting, it's about the messaging. So even for districts that aren't necessarily participating with us, but want to do some form of summer melt advising, they've taken our list, our checklist of what the messages will be over the summer, and they're putting them into their parent portal or their robocall list. So it's not as great as having the 2-way communication. Ideally, we've had really rich conversations come out of the ability for those students to text back, but at a minimum, just using that summer checklist and putting it in their diploma folder, for example, or pulling a list of all the students that didn't send off a final transcript and targeting a mailing just to those students. It doesn't have to just be about texting. It's more about what are the ways to nudge those students over the summer. Obviously, texting is an ideal, but not the only way to do it.
So the last question is about the, I think, FAFSA completion. Where are you getting that data, Lenora or Sylvia? Can you talk a little bit about the FAFSA completion? And I know that you talked about the login Excel sheet, but one of the questions was about FAFSA completion and getting that data.
Okay, for our district, Sylvia provides us with the data quarterly, I believe. But what I usually do, I use Apply Texas website, because within that Apply Texas website, there is a FAFSA link. You can go to that particular website, and it will list every student that has completed their FAFSA, who have not completed it. It also shows what students were selected for verification. So I use the Apply Texas website, but I also use the Federal Student Aid website, because it will give me my completion rate also. It's not as accurate as the FAFSA, but I do use that website. But for my reporting and exporting documents to provide that information to my principals and my staff, I always use FAFSA from the Apply Texas website.
Great. And someone asked about also the counselor registration report where Lenora is using waivers. I'm going to send that through the chat window so you all have, you can see how you can get that information as well with her tracking. She calls it tracking and stalking. So, so this is the registration report. It's the counselor's registration report that I'm going to send you now. And that's actually the last question I'm going to take. There will be a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that you all can, you can use the information. We also will be sending a lot of these resources out to everyone through our follow-up thank you letter. I also want to talk a little bit about our upcoming webinars. We have one that's in June, both in June, early college awareness for the middle school student and counselors, and the redesign assessment, the score reporting and student opportunity on June 9th as well. And if you have not gotten an opportunity, a lot of the information and best practices we do post on our school counselor online community. This is an opportunity for you to network with counselors all over the country. We have about 650 counselors that are have signed up and registered for our online community. Also, if you have not signed up for our 4 More campaign, where we're encouraging students to apply to 4 More, especially low-income students, because we're finding that they are not applying to schools that that are meeting their academic potential. So we're asking school counselors to encourage their students to apply to 4 More. There's a survey that just went out a couple of weeks ago that is asking whether actual counselors did it for this year, and we are providing some additional resources for those counselors who've completed that particular survey. Also, our upcoming and on-demand webinars, if some of your colleagues have missed this webinar, it is now up on our website. All of our webinars are archived, and you can hear a recording of all of them. They're on our Professional College Board K-12 site. The address is there below. Also, if you have not, as you know, we are redesigning our assessments and finding out what's going on with the redesign assessments. If you have not had an opportunity to come to some of our webinars, we have created a reference guide for you. It's the Counselor Guide for Redesign Assessments. It's 6 wonderful chapters that provide you information on timelines, score and reporting, and frequently asked questions. We've also provided information for tools and resources that you can, how do you share this information to your students and to parents and to teachers in your building. To access that, the guide, you can go to the counselor community and you can see and download the PDF version of the counselor guide. I would like to thank everyone, and especially our panelists, for joining us on the webinar today. Thank you, Sarah, Sylvia, and Lenora, for a great presentation. I'm excited to have them back next year because as they're going to have some lessons learned, they will be doing, again, the summer melt, but they're going to be talking. This is a pilot year for them. Now they're going to actually see some real some baseline data to some outcome data of what's going on in their district and lessons learned. So please tune in to our next year webinar, but thank you guys for presenting this information. Also, there will be a survey sent out to all of the participants on the webinar. We would like to continue providing good professional development for school counselors. So please fill out that survey directly after the webinar. Again, thank you everyone for joining.